All right, one of the other stories we've been tracking for you in Newzroom Afrika today was the court appearance today of the Operation Dudula leader, Instiutute, who appeared in court today. He's been remanded in custody and is due to only appear before a judge or a magistrate in the new week. Now, there were members of Operation Dudula who gathered outside court today, and reports later in the afternoon of clashes between some of them and police officers outside the Johannesburg Central Police Station. Now, recently, opposition parties have blamed the likes of the Home Affairs Department for the immigration crisis in the country. Operation Dudula has set itself on the basis that it wants to tackle illegal immigration in this country. It says South Africa's government, I should say, needs to prioritize employment for locals. Let's talk more about the situation. We're joined tonight by the Institute for Security Studies, Jakkie Cilliers. Jakkie, I was just trying to sum up some of what's happened this week and indeed today. And let me ask you this. How much responsibility should the government of this country bear for the situation that's now birthed the likes of Operation Dudula?
Good evening. I think a substantial amount of responsibility. It is government's responsibility to ensure the integrity of our borders, as well as to set the framing for our developmental policy, our economic policy. And they have patently failed in both those instances. South Africa is more insecure than it's ever been probably before. And we have a situation where we are not creating jobs. So the security agencies are in a state of disarray. And that's, evidently through various commissions of inquiry and what we see daily in the media. So it's a systemic failure that is coming together. We need to fix all of these things. We need to get the economy going and growing. We need to make sure that our security agencies are competent and can deal with issues in a humane and responsible manner, and that people are held to account. And none of these are happening. As people are trying, but it seems that government is failing in many of the basic management functions, the responsibilities that are the responsibility of a government.
And given then that the issues are indeed so complex, you've got one thing where you're dealing with undocumented migrants. It's a whole other issue then when everyone who's a migrant becomes targeted in these operations. But you also have that layer of South Africans who are poor, who are unemployed, who lack proper housing and decent services, who also are getting frustrated. Where do you even begin to tackle one? Can you do it all at once, or do you need one at a time?
Well, in the short term, we really need to prioritize sorting out our security agencies, because as we head to the December this year ANC's elective conference, instability in South Africa is likely to remain at fairly high levels. We published research last week, which really indicated the extent, earlier this week, which really indicated the extent to which factionalism within the ruling party is spilling over and beginning to threaten all of us. And as the cake shrinks for the ruling party, the contestation for positions, for access to privilege, to contracts is increasing. So it's a priority to really fix the security establishments. But we also need to get the economy going. So we had the investment conference, but much more needs to be done, because it's really government policy and implementation that is hamstringing our development, our creating of opportunities, as well as the effectiveness within our security agencies.
So we had today a call by some of the Operation Dudula leaders, and Instiutute indeed made a similar call last night when he spoke outside the Joburg Central Police Station for them to essentially be on their best behavior, do not react with violence to his arrest. About 5 o'clock this afternoon, there were indeed clashes between some of the Dudula movement members and members of the police service. Not too clear what kicked that off as things stand tonight. How concerned should we be about a potential escalation on the back of his arrest?
I think we need to be concerned. The rise of vigilantism and political parties riding on the back of that to create space for themselves in the media and to get reported on has been an enduring feature of South Africa for the last probably up to 10 years. And this is not going to go away. And it occurs because of the absence of implementation of laws, lack of consequent management, and so on and so forth. So I do think this is an issue that we really need to watch in South Africa. the xenophobia is not going to go away. And as the competition for jobs intensifies, particularly poor South Africans feel that they're being left aside, while foreigners feel they can come into South Africa and gain access to health, social grants and other instruments. So they abuse the South African system, which is trying to help South Africans. And this is an untenable situation.
And Nhlanhla Lux and some of the other Dudula movement leaders have maintained that theirs is not a violent movement. They say what they do is when they get news that someone is breaking the law, they then alert the local police station, and then they go to that particular area with members of the SAPS, and that they don't take the law into their own hands. But given that premise and what we've seen unfold in recent weeks in the Joburg CBD, in Alexandra, where they said that was a breakaway group, yes, and what we saw in Soweto last week, where a man now says his home was raided and ransacked, yet accused of being a drug dealer, but he says he's not. What should be done now to get a handle on this situation?
Very important that all the political parties, including the EFF and Action SA, come out and really take a stance against this vigilantism and targeting of foreigners. This will not do South Africa good, either internally in terms of social cohesion or within the region. So political leadership is very important. And secondly, we need to get our security agencies. I know that Minister Mosaladi Lady is trying to turn Home Affairs around, but there is so many challenges that we face within police and intelligence and the military that it's really a call for just basic effective management of these agencies, and that clearly is not the instance. We can only reference with regard to the findings with the various intelligence reports that illustrate the lack of coherence. For example, during the riots in South Africa, when the Sunday Africa report pointed to the absolute incoherence at the most senior levels of government in the management of what was really remarkable levels of instability and violence in South Africa.
Jakkie Cilliers, your dogs are getting impatient with us. We're going to let you go. Jakkie Cilliers is with the Institute for Security Studies. We'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.